The cold wind of Toronto cut through David Chin's jacket as he stepped out of the engineering firm where he worked. His tablet tucked under his arm. His shoulders ached from hunching over blueprints all day. The clock showed 11 p.m., but his phone had been buzzing nonstop. "Hello, my family," David said, his voice tired but warm. It was his brother Marcus calling from Ghana. "Brother David, please listen. Mama's hospital bill came again. The clinic says they need payment by tomorrow, or they'll stop her treatment." David's smile faded. He checked his bank app quickly. He had just sent money 3 days ago for this exact thing. "Marcus, I sent $5,000 on Monday. What happened to that money?" "Brother, don't be like this," Marcus shot back, his tone sharp. "You're in Canada, living the good life. We're suffering here. Do you want Mama to die?" The word stung like a slap. David had worked 16-hour days, survived harsh Canadian winters doing construction before becoming an engineer, and skipped meals to send money home. Yet somehow, it was never enough. "I'll send something by morning," David promised quietly. After the call ended, he sat on a bench outside his office building, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. Cars rushed past, their headlights blurring together. He felt utterly alone. His friend James, a Jamaican engineer at the same firm, found him there 20 minutes later. "Dave, man, you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." David shook his head slowly. "James, I'm tired. Every week, same thing. My family needs money. When I send it, they spend it fast and call again. When I can't send immediately, I'm selfish." James sat beside him, his face serious. "Brother, let me tell you something. Real family appreciates you whether your pockets are full or empty. When was the last time any of them asked how you were doing?" David thought hard. He couldn't remember. That night, lying in his small apartment in Scarborough, David scrolled through his phone. Message after message from his siblings in Ghana, all asking for money. His sister Linda needed school fees for her daughter. His younger brother Paul wanted capital for a business. Even his cousin Sarah had sent a long message about needing help with rent. Not one message said thank you. Not one asked about his health or happiness. David had left Ghana 12 years ago with nothing but a dream and a borrowed suitcase. He had worked 3 jobs while studying engineering at night. He remembered sleeping in a friend's basement, eating instant noodles for months, walking in snow because he couldn't afford the bus. All of that sacrifice was for his family. After their father died, David became the provider for everyone. He built them a house in Accra, bought Marcus a taxi, paid for Linda's wedding, and sent money every single month without fail. But appreciation? That seemed to have disappeared along the way. His phone buzzed again. This time it was Paul. "Brother David, my taxi broke down. I need money to fix it urgently. Tomorrow I have no way to work." David stared at the message. Paul's taxi? The one David had bought him just 8 months ago? Already broken? He typed a reply. "Paul, I just paid Marcus for Mama's treatment. Can you wait until next week?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then Paul's response came. "So now you're choosing who to help? That taxi is my only source of income. If you can't help your own brother, just say so." David felt his chest tighten. He put down the phone and walked to his window, looking out at the Toronto skyline. The CN Tower stood tall in the distance, lit up against the dark sky. "God," he whispered, "I've worked so hard to take care of them. But do they even love me? Or do they just love what I can give them?" It was a question that would haunt him for days. A question that would lead him to make a decision that would change everything. Because deep in his heart, David Chun was about to do something radical. Something that would reveal the true nature of the people he called family. He didn't know it yet, but within 2 weeks, his entire world would turn upside down. And the answer to his question would break his heart into pieces. What happens when David discovers the truth about his family? Will their love survive when the money disappears? Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss next chapter. Drop a comment below telling us. Have you ever felt unappreciated by family? Hit the like button if this story touched your heart, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message today. The rain pounded against David's apartment window that Friday evening. He sat at his small dining table, surrounded by bills and bank statements, trying to figure out how to stretch his salary to cover both his own expenses and his family's endless requests. His laptop was open to his email when a notification popped up. The subject line read, Ontario Lottery Corporation, winner, notification. David almost deleted it, assuming it was spam. He received these fake lottery emails weekly. But something made him pause. He had bought a single lottery ticket 2 weeks earlier while grabbing coffee, more out of boredom than hope. He clicked the email and read slowly. Then he read it again. His hands began to shake. Dear Mr. David Chun, congratulations. You are the confirmed winner of the Lotto Max jackpot prize of 35 million Canadian dollars. Please contact our verification office within 72 hours to claim your prize. The room seemed to spin. David grabbed his phone, found a crumpled lottery ticket in his wallet, and checked the numbers on the official lottery website. They matched. Every single one. He stood up so fast his chair fell backward. No, this can't be real, he whispered, pacing his small apartment. His heart hammered in his chest. With trembling fingers, he called the number listed in the email. A professional voice answered. Ontario Lottery Corporation, Validation Department. 30 minutes later, after answering security questions and providing his ticket number, the truth sank in. David Chun, the tired engineer who ate instant noodles to send money home, was now worth $35 million. He dropped to his knees right there in his living room, tears streaming down his face. God, after everything, you remembered me. The first person he called was James. His friend answered on the second ring. James, brother, I won. I won the lottery. David's voice cracked with emotion. What? Dave, are you serious? $35 million, James. $35 million. James screamed, so loud David had to pull the phone from his ear. For 5 minutes, both men shouted and laughed like children, the joy flooding through the phone line. But as the excitement settled, David grew quiet. James, what's wrong? You just became a multi-millionaire. David sat on his couch, staring at the lottery ticket. Last night, Marcus called me selfish because I couldn't send money immediately. Paul was angry I couldn't fix his taxi right away. They don't see me as a brother anymore, James. They see me as a bank machine. James was silent for a moment. So what are you going to do? David's jaw tightened. I want to know the truth. I want to know if they love me, or if they only love my money. What are you thinking? I'm going back to Ghana, David said slowly. But not as a rich man. I'll tell them I was deported, that I lost everything, that I'm broke and desperate. Dave, that's dangerous. What if? Then I'll know, David interrupted. I'll finally know if any of them truly care about me. Over the weekend, David and James crafted the plan carefully. David would tell his family that Canadian immigration had deported him after false accusations of fraud at his engineering firm. He would say they seized his bank accounts and revoked his work permit. He would return to Ghana with only a backpack, looking defeated and hopeless. Are you sure about this? James asked Sunday evening as they reviewed the details. David nodded firmly. I've spent 12 years sacrificing for them. If they can't stand by me when I have nothing, then I need to know. Better to learn the truth now than spend the rest of my life wondering. That night, David made the call. His brother Marcus answered, sounding irritated. Brother Marcus, David said, his voice deliberately shaky. Something terrible has happened. I'm being deported from Canada. There was silence. Then what? Deported? Why? There was a problem at work. They accused me of document fraud. It's not true, but immigration doesn't care. They're sending me home next week. They've frozen all my accounts. More silence. Then Marcus's voice changed, became colder. So, you have no money? Nothing. They took everything. I'll be coming home with just my clothes. I see, Marcus said flatly. When do you arrive? Friday evening. Can someone pick me up from the airport? A pause. We'll see. Things are busy here. The call ended abruptly. No sympathy. No comfort. Just cold calculation. David stared at his phone, his heart already beginning to crack. The test hadn't even officially begun, and already he could feel the truth emerging like a dark shadow. He looked at his bank statement showing $35 million and whispered, let's see who really loves me. The stage was set. The performance of his life was about to begin. And the answer he would discover would shatter everything he thought he knew about family. The humid air of Kotoka International Airport wrapped around David like a heavy blanket as he stepped off the plane. The familiar sounds of Accra filled his ears. Vendors shouting, car horns blaring, people speaking rapid Chuyinga. This was home, yet it felt foreign now. David had deliberately not showered for 2 days. His beard was overgrown and uneven. He wore old, wrinkled clothes he had bought from a thrift store specifically for this moment. His single backpack looked worn and dirty. To anyone watching, he appeared exactly as planned, a broken man returning in shame. He waited by the arrival gate, watching families reunite with joy and tears. Nobody came for him. After 40 minutes, he called Marcus. The phone rang 6 times before his brother answered. Hello. Marcus, I'm here. At the airport. Where are you? A pause. Ah, David. Sorry, something came up. Take a taxi home. I'll see you later. The line went dead. David stood there, phone in hand, fighting the urge to cry. His own brother couldn't even pick him up. He flagged down a taxi and gave the driver the address of the house he had built. The house his family now lived in comfortably. The drive through Accra's busy streets brought back memories. He recognized shops, corners, the roads he used to walk as a young man dreaming of a better life. Now he was returning to test whether that better life had meant anything to the people he loved most. When a taxi pulled up to the house, David's heart clenched. The building looked beautiful, freshly painted yellow with white trim, a new gate, flowers in the compound. All paid for with his money, his sweat, his sacrifice. He knocked on the gate. The security guard, Kofi, opened it and gasped. Ah, Mr. David. But, what happened? It's a long story, Kofi. Please tell Marcus I'm here. Kofi hurried inside. Moments later, Marcus emerged from the main door. He wore expensive jeans and a designer polo shirt, gold chains around his neck. When he saw David, his face twisted, not with joy or relief, but with visible disappointment. David, Marcus said flatly. So it's true. You really came back like this. David forced a tired smile. Hello, brother. It's good to see you. Marcus didn't move to hug him. Come inside. The others are here. The living room David entered was furnished beautifully. A large flat-screen TV, leather sofas, expensive curtains. Every item purchased with money he had sent. But as he stepped inside, the atmosphere turned cold. Linda sat on the sofa, scrolling through her phone. She looked up, saw David's appearance, and her nose wrinkled slightly. Oh, you're here. Paul stood by the window, barely glancing at David before turning away. I heard what happened. Tough luck. Their mother, Comfort, sat in the best chair. She was healthy, much healthier than they had claimed in their recent calls. She looked at David with what could only be described as disappointment. My son, she said without warmth. You should have been more careful in Canada. Now look at you. No embrace. No tears of relief that he was safe. Just judgment. David stood in the center of the room, his heart breaking piece by piece. Mama, I'm sorry. They accused me falsely. I lost everything trying to fight it. Marcus crossed his arms. So now what? What's your plan? I was hoping to stay here for a while, just until I figure things out. Maybe find some work. Linda laughed bitterly. Work? Doing what? You've been gone 12 years. Everything has changed here. I can do anything, David said quietly. Engineering, construction, whatever is available. I just need a little time and support. Paul scoffed. Support? Brother, we all have our own problems. You think life is easy for us. David looked around at the expensive furniture, the new appliances, the comfortable life they were living, all because of him. I understand. I'm not asking for much. Just a place to sleep and some food until I get on my feet. Marcus and Linda exchanged glances. Finally, Marcus sighed heavily. Fine. You can stay in the boys' quarters out back. But David, don't expect us to take care of you. We're not running a charity. The boys' quarters. The small, basic room meant for servants. In his own house. David nodded slowly. Thank you. As he was shown to the cramped room with its single mattress and broken fan, David felt his phone buzz in his pocket. It was James, texting from Canada. How is it? Are they treating you well? David looked around the dusty room, heard his family's voices through the wall talking about how embarrassing his return was, and typed back, the test has begun, and I'm already seeing the truth. That night, David lay on the thin mattress, staring at the ceiling. Mosquitoes buzzed around him. The heat was suffocating. In the house he had built, his family slept comfortably, not one of them checking if he was okay. He whispered into the darkness, "Now I know what I am to them. Just a source of money. Nothing more." David woke up to the sound of roosters crowing and the morning sun burning through the broken window of the boys' quarters. His body ached from the thin mattress, and mosquito bites covered his arms. He could hear voices from the main house, his family having breakfast. Nobody called him to join them. He splashed water on his face from the bucket in the corner and stepped outside. The compound looked different in daylight. The garden was well maintained. The cars were polished. Everything spoke of comfort and wealth. His wealth, their comfort. As he approached the main house, he heard laughter inside. Through the window, he saw Marcus, Linda, and Paul eating a large breakfast: eggs, bread, tea, fruit. His stomach growled. He hadn't eaten since the airport yesterday. He knocked gently on the door. Linda opened it, holding a piece of toast. "Yes. Good morning. I was wondering if there's any food." "There's some kinky left from yesterday in the kitchen," she said quickly. "Help yourself." She closed the door before he could respond. David found a kinky wrapped in newspaper, cold and hard. He ate it slowly with water, sitting on the back steps, trying to ignore the sound of his family's laughter inside. Then he heard a new voice. Female, young, warm. "Mama, I brought you some groundnuts from the market." "Where's?" The voice stopped. "Wait, is that Brother David?" David looked up to see a young woman in her mid-20s standing in the doorway, her eyes wide with shock. She wore a simple dress and carried a teaching bag. This was Grace, his youngest sister. She worked as a primary school teacher in a nearby community. "Grace," David said softly, standing up. For a moment, she just stared at him, at his worn clothes, his tired face, his defeated posture. Then her eyes filled with tears, and she ran to him, throwing her arms around him. "Brother David, you're home." She hugged him tightly, not caring about his appearance. "Why didn't anyone tell me you arrived?" David felt his throat tighten. This was the first real embrace since his return. "I got in yesterday," he managed to say. Grace pulled back, looking at him closely. "But what happened? Why do you look like this? Are you okay?" Before David could answer, Linda called from inside. "Grace, don't make a fuss. He got deported. He has no money now. That's why he's here." Grace's face showed confusion, then understanding, then something that looked like pain. "Deported? Oh, Brother David." She took his hand. "Have you eaten properly?" "I'm fine," he lied. "No, you're not." She looked toward the kitchen, then back at him, her jaw setting with determination. "Come, let me make you proper food." "Grace, you don't have to." "You're my brother," she said firmly. "Of course I have to." For the next hour, Grace worked in the kitchen, preparing fresh rice and stew while David sat watching her, surprised and deeply moved. She asked him questions about Canada, about his journey home, about how he was feeling. Real questions. Questions that showed she cared about him, not his money. When the food was ready, she sat with him while he ate. "Brother David, I don't understand what happened exactly, but I want you to know something." She looked at him with sincere eyes. "You took care of all of us for so many years. You paid for my teacher training college. You made sure we had food when we had nothing. Do you think I've forgotten that?" David's eyes grew misty. "Grace, even if you have nothing now," she continued, "you're still my brother. You're still the man who sacrificed everything for this family. That doesn't change because of money." A tear rolled down David's cheek. He wiped it quickly. "Thank you," he whispered. From that day forward, Grace became David's lifeline. Every morning before going to teach, she would stop by the boys' quarters with breakfast. Every evening after work, she'd bring him dinner from her own small salary. She washed his clothes, brought him soap and toiletries, and most importantly, she talked to him like a human being, not a failure. "Grace," David said one evening as she brought him food, "you work so hard already. You don't need to do all this for me. Your salary is small." "Brother David," she interrupted gently, "when you were in Canada working long hours, sending us money, did you ever think it was too much? Did you ever say our needs were too big?" He shook his head. "Then don't tell me this is too much. This is what family does. We carry each other." Meanwhile, the others continued their coldness. Marcus complained that David's presence was embarrassing when friends visited. Linda told people in the neighborhood that David had failed in Canada. Paul avoided him completely. But Grace remained constant, a light in the darkness, a reminder that somewhere in this family, love still existed. One night, as David lay in his room, he pulled out his phone and texted James, "I found one. One person with a true heart. My youngest sister Grace. She's the only one who still sees me as human." James replied, "Hold on to that, brother. That's the person who deserves to be blessed when the truth comes out." David looked toward the main house where Grace now slept, having given him her own dinner again because she had already eaten. His heart was both broken and healed at the same time. Broken by the betrayal of most of his family. Healed by the pure love of one sister who understood what loyalty truly meant. 2 weeks passed since David's return, and the situation grew worse with each day. The morning sun rose over Accra, but for David, every dawn brought fresh humiliation. He woke early one morning to voices outside the boys' quarters. Through the small window, he saw Marcus talking to a friend, someone David didn't recognize. "Yes, that's my brother," Marcus was saying, his voice loud enough to carry. "The one who was in Canada. Got himself deported. Now he's living here like a houseboy." The friend laughed. After all those years abroad? What a shame." "I'm telling you," Marcus continued. "All those times he was sending us money, we thought he was successful. Turns out he was probably doing illegal things. That's why they caught him." David's hands clenched into fists. Marcus was now inventing stories, making him sound like a criminal to save face in front of friends. When David emerged from his room later, Marcus barely looked at him. "David, if you're going to stay here, you need to make yourself useful. The compound needs sweeping." David stared at his brother. "You want me to sweep? Why not? You're not paying rent. At least contribute something." So David swept the compound of the house he had built. He fetched water for a kitchen where he wasn't allowed to eat. He became invisible labor in his own home. One afternoon, an old friend from David's youth, Kwame, came to visit the house. He saw David carrying buckets of water and stopped in shock. "David? David Chun? Is that you?" David smiled weakly. "Yes, Kwame. It's me." Kwame's face showed genuine concern. "But what? I heard you were in Canada, doing very well. What happened?" Before David could answer, Linda rushed out. "Oh, Kwame. Yes, that's David. Sadly, he had problems abroad. You know how these things happen." She laughed uncomfortably. "He's just staying with us temporarily." After Kwame left looking confused, Linda turned to David sharply. "Please don't embarrass us in front of people. If someone asks, just say you're visiting. Don't tell them you were deported." "You're ashamed of me," David said quietly. "Can you blame me?" Linda snapped. "We told everyone you were successful. Now you're here looking like this. It makes the whole family look bad." That evening, David overheard a conversation he would never forget. He was walking past the living room window when he heard his mother's voice. "Marcus, how long is David going to stay here?" "I don't know, Mama. He says he's looking for work, but who will hire him?" "This is stressful," his mother continued. "People are talking. Our neighbors are asking questions. It's embarrassing. Maybe we should ask him to leave," Paul suggested. "Go stay with some friends or something." "Where will he go?" Linda asked. "That's not our problem," Paul replied coldly. "He's a grown man. He needs to figure out his own life." David felt his heart shatter into smaller pieces. These were the same people whose rent he had paid, whose medical bills he had covered, whose dreams he had funded. Now they wanted him gone because he was embarrassing. Only Grace remained his defender. That night, she came to his room with food, as usual, her eyes red from crying. "Brother David, I heard them talking," she said, her voice shaking. "I can't believe they're treating you this way." "It's okay, Grace." "No, it's not okay." She wiped angry tears. "You built this house. You paid for everything they have. And now they treat you like a stranger." David took her hand gently. "Grace, don't fight with them because of me. You still have to live here." "I don't care," she said fiercely. "What they're doing is wrong. Mama should be defending you, not complaining about you. They've forgotten everything you did." She reached in her bag and pulled out an envelope. "Brother, this is my salary from this month. Take it. Use it to start something small. Maybe rent a room somewhere else. David's eyes widened. Grace, no. This is your money. You need it. You needed it for 12 years, and you still send it to us, she interrupted. I can't give you as much as you gave us, but I can give you what I have. That's what you taught me, to share what little I have. David pulled her into a hug, unable to stop the tears. You're the only one who still has a heart in this family. Maybe I learned it from you, she whispered back. The next morning, David made a decision. He would leave the house during the day, not to spare them embarrassment, but to preserve what little dignity he had left. He began going to a nearby shop, sitting in the shade, sometimes helping the owner with small tasks in exchange for a place to rest. James called from Canada that afternoon. Dave, how much longer can you take this? David watched the traffic pass by, the city buzzing with life while he felt more dead inside each day. Soon, James. Soon I'll reveal everything. I need to see how far they'll go. I need to know the full truth. The full truth might kill you, brother. No, David said softly. It will free me, because after this, I'll know exactly who deserves to be in my life and who doesn't. 3 weeks into his stay, David hit rock bottom. Not financially. He had $35 million in his Canadian bank account. But emotionally, spiritually, he felt completely drained. It was a Sunday morning. In Ghanaian culture, Sunday meant church, family meals, and togetherness. David remembered the Sundays of his youth when the family would attend service together, then share a big meal afterward, talking and laughing for hours. He got dressed in his best clothes, which were still shabby, and walked toward the main house, hoping perhaps today would be different. Perhaps on the Lord's Day, his family would remember kindness. Through the window, he saw them preparing to leave for church. Marcus wore a sharp suit. Linda had on an elegant dress and heels. Paul's outfit looked expensive. Even Mama wore her finest cloth and jewelry. David knocked on the door. Marcus opened it, already frowning. Yes. I thought I could join you all for church, David said hopefully. Marcus looked back at the others, then at David. Brother David, maybe not today. We're going to a special service. It's kind of formal. You don't have the right clothes. I don't mind. I can sit in the back. David, Linda interrupted, appearing behind Marcus. Please, people from Mama's group will be there. You understand, right? It's better if you go to a different church. The door closed gently but firmly. David stood there, frozen. They didn't want him at church. Not because there wasn't room in the car. Not because he wouldn't be welcome at God's house. But because they were ashamed to be seen with him. He walked slowly back to the boys' quarters and sat on the bed. For the first time since this test began, he put his face in his hands and wept. Deep, gut-wrenching sobs that came from years of sacrifice being met with such cold rejection. God, he cried out, I thought blood was thicker than water. I thought family meant something. Was I wrong about everything? Hours later, Grace found him there. She had gone to church with the family, but left early, claiming illness. She knew what they had done. Brother David, she said softly, sitting beside him. She didn't say anything else. She just sat there, her presence a quiet comfort. Finally, David spoke, his voice hoarse. Grace, I need to tell you something. What is it, brother? He looked at her, this young woman with a teacher's modest salary who had shared every meal with him, who had given him her last bills, who had never once made him feel less than human. When this is all over, he said carefully, you'll understand why I came back like this. But I want you to know something now. You're the only one who passed. Grace looked confused. Past what? The test of love. Before she could ask more, Marcus burst into the boys' quarters without knocking. His face was twisted with anger. David, we need to talk. Now. David stood up. What is it? My friend Johnson saw you yesterday at his shop. He said you were there for hours, just sitting around. Is that what you're doing with your days? Nothing. I was helping him organize his storeroom. I don't want to hear excuses, Marcus snapped. This is embarrassing, David. Our family has a reputation. People knew you as the successful brother in Canada. Now you're loitering at shops like a jobless person. I am jobless, David said quietly. That's why I'm here. Then find something. Do something. Stop making us look bad. Something inside David shifted. He straightened his shoulders and looked Marcus in the eye. Making you look bad? I built this house, Marcus. I paid for your taxi. I sent money for every problem this family had for 12 years. And now you're concerned about your reputation? Marcus stepped back, surprised by David's tone. You want me gone? David continued, his voice steady now. I can see it. All of you except Grace want me gone. So let me ask you directly. Do you want me to leave? That's not what I said. Answer the question. Do you want your brother, who has nothing and nowhere to go, to leave this house that he built? The silence was heavy. Marcus looked away. David, you're being dramatic. No, I'm being clear. I'll leave. I'll leave this house, this family, this whole situation. But before I go, I'm calling a family meeting tomorrow morning. Everyone needs to be there. Why? Linda asked from the doorway, having overheard everything. David smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Because tomorrow, you'll all learn the truth. About everything. That night, he texted James, tomorrow is the day. I'm revealing everything. I can't do this anymore. James replied, Are you sure you're ready? David looked around the shabby room, then at his phone showing his bank balance. More than ready. It's time they learned that the brother they rejected is the same brother who won $35 million. And it's time I learned to walk away from people who never truly loved me. He lay down, but sleep wouldn't come. Tomorrow would change everything. Tomorrow the mask would fall. And tomorrow, his family would face the truth they had been too blind to see. Morning broke over Accra with unusual stillness. Even the street vendors seemed quieter than usual, as if the world itself was holding its breath for what was about to unfold. David woke before dawn. He showered carefully using the bucket of water Grace had brought him the night before. For the first time in weeks, he trimmed his beard properly, making himself look neat and intentional. He put on the cleanest clothes he had and stood before the cracked mirror in his room. Today, he whispered to his reflection, the truth comes out. Grace had sent him a text at 5 a.m. Brother, I'm nervous. What's going to happen? He replied simply, Trust me, everything will make sense soon. By 9 a.m., the entire family was gathered in the living room, though not willingly. Marcus looked annoyed, checking his watch repeatedly. Linda sat with crossed arms, her face showing irritation. Paul scrolled through his phone, barely paying attention. Their mother, Comfort, sat in her usual chair, looking impatient. Only Grace remained his defender. That night, she came to his room with food, as usual, her eyes red from crying. Brother David, I heard them talking, she said, her voice shaking. I can't believe they're treating you this way. It's okay, Grace. No, it's not okay. She wiped angry tears. You built this house. You paid for everything they have. And now they treat you like a stranger. David took her hand gently. Grace, don't fight with them because of me. You still have to live here. I don't care, she said fiercely. What they're doing is wrong. Mama should be defending you, not complaining about you. They've forgotten everything you did. She reached in her bag and pulled out an envelope. Brother, this is my salary from this month. Take it. Use it to start something small. Maybe rent a room somewhere else. David's eyes widened. Grace, no. This is your money. You need it. You needed it for 12 years, and you still send it to us, she interrupted. I can't give you as much as you gave us, but I can give you what I have. That's what you taught me, to share what little I have. David pulled her into a hug, unable to stop the tears. You're the only one who still has a heart in this family. Maybe I learned it from you, she whispered back. The next morning, David made a decision. He would leave the house during the day, not to spare them embarrassment, but to preserve what little dignity he had left. He began going to a nearby shop, sitting in the shade, sometimes helping the owner with small tasks in exchange for a place to rest. James called from Canada that afternoon. Dave, how much longer can you take this? David watched the traffic pass by, the city buzzing with life while he felt more dead inside each day. Soon, James. Soon I'll reveal everything. I need to see how far they'll go. I need to know the full truth. The full truth might kill you, brother. No, David said softly. It will free me, because after this, I'll know exactly who deserves to be in my life and who doesn't. The news of David's revelation spread through the family compound like wildfire. Within hours, the small boys' quarters where David had stayed became a pilgrimage site for regret. Marcus was the first to return, just 30 minutes after David had walked out. His pride was gone, replaced by desperation. He knocked on Grace's door, the only person who knew where David was staying temporarily. "Grace, please. I need to talk to him. I need to apologize properly." Grace stood in her doorway, her eyes still red from crying, but her voice was firm. "Brother Marcus, David said he needs space." "Space? I'm his brother. Blood is thicker than water. Is it?" Grace asked quietly. "Where was that thick blood when he was sleeping on a thin mattress with mosquitoes? Where was it when he ate Old Kinky while you ate fresh breakfast?" Marcus flinched as if slapped. "I made a mistake, Grace. We all made mistakes. But he's our brother. He can't just cut us off." "He didn't cut you off," Grace corrected. "You cut him off first. He just stopped pretending it didn't hurt." Meanwhile, at a modest hotel near the airport, David sat on the balcony overlooking the city. His phone hadn't stopped ringing. Marcus, Linda, Paul, even his mother. Text messages flooded in. "Brother, please come back. Let's talk. David, we're sorry. Please give us another chance. Son, I'm your mother. You can't abandon your family like this." He read each message, felt the familiar pull of guilt, the old instinct to make everyone happy. But then he remembered the past 3 weeks. The humiliation, the rejection, the cold shoulders. James video called from Canada. "Brother, I heard what happened. Grace sent me a message. Man, you really did it." David smiled weakly. "I did. And James, it hurt more than I expected. Even knowing the truth beforehand, saying it out loud, seeing their faces. But you're free now," James said gently. "You're finally free." Back at the family house, chaos reigned. Linda couldn't stop crying, her mascara running down her face. "How could we be so blind? So stupid?" Paul paced back and forth. "Do you know what we just lost? $35 million. We could have all been set for life. Is that all you can think about?" Grace snapped, overhearing him. "The money? Haven't you learned anything?" "Easy for you to say," Paul shot back. "You got $1 million. What about us?" Grace's eyes flashed with anger. "I got it because I loved him when he had nothing. When you all were mocking him, I was feeding him. When you were embarrassed by him, I was sitting with him. You want a reward? Love isn't about rewards." Their mother, Comfort, sat in her chair, suddenly looking much older. The weight of shame had aged her in hours. "I failed him," she whispered. "His father asked me to watch over all the children, and I failed the one who needed me most." She remembered David as a boy, always responsible, always caring. After his father died, young David had stood at the grave and whispered, "Papa, I'll take care of everyone. I promise." And he had kept that promise beyond measure. "We don't deserve his forgiveness," she said softly. That evening, Grace went to visit David at his hotel. She brought him his favorite food from a local chop bar, wache with extra fish and Cheeto. "You didn't have to do this," David said, though he was grateful. "I know, but I wanted to." She sat across from him. "Brother, they're all very sorry. Genuinely sorry." "I believe they are," David nodded, "now that they know about the money." "No," Grace said thoughtfully. "I think it's more than that. I think seeing you walk away made them realize what they truly lost. Not a wallet, a person." David was quiet for a moment. "Grace, do you think I'm being too harsh?" She considered carefully. "I think you're being honest. And sometimes honesty feels harsh because people aren't used to facing consequences." She paused. "But brother, I also know you have a forgiving heart. Eventually, you'll find a way to peace with them. Just not yet. Not until the lesson sinks in." "You're wise for 25, David smiled. "I had a good teacher," she smiled back. "You showed me how to love selflessly. That's a gift worth more than any money." They sat in comfortable silence, eating together as the across sunset painted the sky orange and purple. The next morning, David made a decision. He wouldn't leave Ghana immediately. Instead, he would stay 2 more weeks. Not at the family house, but at his hotel. He would use this time to set up Grace's financial future properly. Investments, a savings account, business opportunities. But he also made another decision. He sent a message to the family group chat. "I'm still in Accra. I need time to heal. If you truly want to rebuild what was broken, show me through actions, not words. Prove that you've learned what love means. You have 2 weeks." Marcus read the message and immediately replied, "We will." "I promise, David. We will." But actions speak louder than words. And the next 2 weeks would reveal whether this family could truly change, or if some relationships, once broken, could never be fully repaired. The first morning after David's message, Marcus woke up at 5 a.m. He hadn't slept well, his mind racing with thoughts of his brother's words and his own shameful actions. He looked at himself in the mirror and barely recognized the man staring back. "When did I become this person?" he whispered. He got dressed and drove to David's hotel. The receptionist told him David wasn't receiving visitors, but Marcus left a note. "I'm not asking for money or forgiveness. I just want to learn how to be your brother again." Linda did something she hadn't done in years. She went to the market herself. Usually, she sent her house help. But today, she bought fresh vegetables, fish, and ingredients. She spent 3 hours cooking David's favorite meal, pallava sauce with konomire and fufu. She brought it to the hotel. David wasn't in his room, but she left it at the front desk with a note. "You cooked for us with your sacrifice for 12 years. Let me cook for you once." Paul did the quietest thing of all. He went to the boys' quarters where David had stayed and cleaned it thoroughly. He painted the walls, fixed a broken fan, bought a new mattress, and put fresh sheets on it. He added a small refrigerator and a reading lamp. When Grace saw what he was doing, she asked, "Why are you doing this?" "He's not coming back here." Paul wiped sweat from his forehead. "I know, but maybe someone else will need this room one day. And when they do, it won't be a place of shame. It'll be decent, the way I should have made it for David." Their mother, Comfort, did something even more profound. She went to their family church and spoke with the pastor, asking him to announce something during Sunday service. That Sunday, she stood before the congregation, the same congregation she had been too embarrassed to bring David to. "I want to confess something," she said, her voice shaking. 3 weeks ago, my son came home in need, and I turned my back on him because I was more concerned about what people thought than about his well-being. I was ashamed of him when I should have been ashamed of myself. The church was silent. People shifted uncomfortably. "I'm telling you this," Comfort continued, tears flowing, "because pride is a disease. It makes you forget what matters. My son taught me that love isn't about appearance or status. It's about standing with someone in their darkest hour. And I failed that test." She sat down, weeping. The pastor spoke about the prodigal son, but with a twist. What if the family was the one who needed to come home? Word of these actions reached David through Grace, who visited him daily with updates. "Brother Marcus comes to the hotel every morning. He doesn't ask to see you. He just leaves notes. Sister Linda has cooked for you 4 times this week. Brother Paul transformed your old room. You should see it. And Mama spoke in church. She told everyone the truth about what happened." David listened to each update, his heart a mixture of pain and something else, perhaps the beginning of healing. On the 8th day, David decided to do something unexpected. He went to the family house unannounced. When he arrived, he found Marcus washing the compound, something he had never done before, always leaving it to the house help. Paul was fixing the gate that had been broken for months. Linda was in the kitchen, not relaxing while someone else cooked. They all stopped when they saw him. "David," Marcus said, setting down the broom. "Don't stop," David said quietly. "I came to watch, not to interrupt." For an hour, he sat under the mango tree and watched his siblings work. Really work. Not for show, because they didn't know he was coming, but because they were trying to become better people. Finally, he called them together. "I see you're trying," he said. "I appreciate it." "David, we're so sorry," Linda began. He raised his hand. "I know. I've read every note. I've eaten your food. I've heard about Mama's confession. These actions mean more than 1,000 apologies. Does this mean you forgive us?" Paul asked hopefully. David chose his words carefully. "I'm learning to forgive. Forgiveness isn't one moment. It's a journey. I see you're on your own journey too. Changing. Growing. That matters." Marcus stepped forward. "We don't expect you to trust us again immediately. We broke that trust. But if you give us time, we'll prove that we've learned." David nodded slowly. "Time. Yes. That's what we all need." He stood to leave, but Grace's voice stopped him. "Brother David, tomorrow is your birthday." He had forgotten. In all the drama, his 35th birthday had slipped his mind. "Spend it with us," his mother said, appearing from the house. "Please, not as the rich brother, not as the provider, just as David, our David." He looked at their faces, hopeful, humble, changed. Could people really change? Or would old patterns return? "I'll think about it," he said. That night, alone in his hotel room, David made a decision about his birthday, about his family, about his future. The next day would reveal if forgiveness could truly bloom where betrayal once grew. David's 35th birthday dawned with golden sunlight streaming through his hotel window. He sat on the balcony with his morning coffee, looking out over Accra, thinking about the journey that had led him here. His phone buzzed. It was Grace. "Brother, whatever you decide today, I support you. But I hope you'll give them a chance. People can change. I've seen it this week." He smiled. Grace, always the bridge between broken things. At 10 a.m., he made his decision. He got dressed, called a taxi, and headed to the family house. When he arrived, he found something unexpected. The compound was decorated simply but thoughtfully, not with expensive decorations, but with handmade banners. "Happy Birthday, David," written in Marcus's handwriting. Balloons that Linda had clearly blown up herself. Flowers that Paul had picked from the garden. His mother stood at the door, wearing a simple dress, her face free of the usual heavy makeup. She looked vulnerable, human. "You came," she whispered. "I came," David confirmed. Inside, the house had been transformed. Not into something fancy, but something warm. The large flat-screen TV was off. The expensive sound system silent. Instead, old family photos covered the walls, including ones of David that had been stored away. "We found these," Marcus said, pointing to a picture of young David carrying his siblings on his back. "We forgot who you were, who we were together." Linda brought out food, not catered or fancy, but homemade dishes cooked by all of them together. "We made your favorites. Probably not as good as restaurant food, but we made it with our hands. All of us." They sat together at the dining table, all 6 of them. For the first time in 3 weeks, David ate with his family. The meal was simple: jollof rice, grilled tilapia, kelaweel, and sabalo drink. "Before we eat," their mother said, "I want to say something." She looked at David with tears in her eyes. 35 years ago, I brought you into this world. I held you first. I named you David because it means beloved, but somewhere along the way, I forgot to show you that you were beloved. I treated you like a resource instead of my son." Her voice broke. "When your father died, you became the man of this house at just 23. You carried burdens no young man should carry. And I let you. I even added to those burdens. I'm sorry, my son. I'm so deeply sorry." Marcus spoke next, his voice thick with emotion. "I was jealous. I know that now. You were successful, and I felt small. So instead of being proud of you, I resented you. And when you came back broken, part of me felt relieved. Like finally, you weren't perfect." He wiped his eyes. "I'm ashamed of that person. I want to be better." Linda and Paul each shared their own confessions, their own shortcomings, their own journeys toward understanding what they had lost and what they wanted to rebuild. Finally, Grace spoke. "I can't apologize for anything because I didn't reject you. But I want to say this. This family is better because you existed. You taught us how to love. We just forgot the lesson. But we're learning again." David listened to it all, tears streaming down his face. When they finished, he sat quietly for a moment. "I forgive you," he said finally. "Not because what you did was okay, but because holding on to anger was poisoning me too." He looked around the table. "Here's what I want. I don't want to be your ATM anymore. I want to be your brother, your son. I want phone calls that aren't about money. I want to know about your lives, your struggles, your joys. We want that too," Marcus said quickly. David continued, "I'm going back to Canada next week, but I'll visit every year. And when I do, I want to come to a home where love lives, not just financial need." "You will," his mother promised. "We're not perfect, but we're trying. That's all we can offer now, the sincere effort to be better." The birthday celebration continued with laughter, stories, and even singing. Grace brought out a simple cake she had baked herself. It was lopsided and the icing was messy, but it was made with love. As David blew out the candles, he made a wish. Let this family heal. Completely. That evening, as the celebration wound down, David sat with Grace on the veranda. You gave them another chance, she observed. I gave us all another chance, he corrected. Family isn't perfect, Grace. It's messy and complicated. But when people genuinely want to change, love makes space for that growth. What about the money? She asked. What will you do with it? David smiled. I'm setting up a foundation. It'll help young people from Ghana who want to study abroad. Kids who have dreams, but no resources. I'll call it the Second Chance Foundation. That's beautiful, brother. And you, he added, will help me run it. That $1 million I gave you, consider it your salary and startup capital. We'll change lives together. Grace hugged him tightly. You could have become bitter. Instead, you're becoming better. David looked at his family through the window. Imperfect, flawed, but trying. Marcus was teaching Paul how to fix the garden fence. Linda was helping Mama with dishes. Simple moments. Real moments. Bitterness is a prison, David said softly. I choose freedom. I choose to believe people can change. And I choose to love them through that change. As the sun set over Accra, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples, David Chin felt something he hadn't felt in months. Peace. He had tested his family and found painful truths. But he had also found something precious, the capacity for redemption. Not everyone passed the initial test, but they were given a second chance to try again. And sometimes that's what family is, not people who never fail you, but people who learn from their failures and choose to do better. 2 weeks later, David boarded a flight back to Canada. But this time, he wasn't leaving behind resentment. He was leaving behind seeds of hope. His phone buzzed as the plane took off. It was a group message from his siblings. Safe travels, brother. Come back soon. Not because we need money, because we miss you. David smiled, closed his eyes, and whispered, Thank you, God, for the test, for the lesson, and for teaching me that love, real love, is always worth fighting for. The end. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. David's story teaches us that true love is tested in hardship, and that forgiveness is possible when people truly change. What did you learn from this story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories about family, love, and life lessons.